Hello and hello and hello. Welcome to the vibes of Ancestrally Speaking this lovely Sunday morning, November 8th. And why are we
going fast
happy today? Slightly, ever so slightly.
A smidge.
Because we showed you, we told you, we've always known that without Black women, you will not exist. And here we are on a lovely Sunday morning, coming to discuss the wonders of Black women. Give it up for Black women worldwide. Welcome to Ancestry Speaking. This is the Mother Principle. And I was just wanting to bring us in with some cool charms and voices and rhythms from Omar Xavier. But now I'm going to turn my little friend off. And I'm going to introduce these lovely Black women I've got on my panel with me. So let's go from the top. Andrea, let us know who you are.
My name is Andrea Thompson. I do lunar alignment, and I am a Black woman who is for Black women.
I love this. Keep going. Right.
Are we going?
For you, Rissy? I'm sorry.
Oh, me? I thought we were going this way.
Counterclockwise.
Well, I mean, you're next, Brady. Come on.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Evelyn Bandoh. I ask the questions that no one ever wants to ask. And yeah, that is what I'm going to say this morning for now.
Risikat Okedeyi. I am a professor, a cultural architect. I'm giving you vintage fisheye lens today. I don't know why this is doing this. So yes, we do realize that I look a little crazy, but this is where we are. And I love Black women above all else, and lowercase blacks can eat.
Tell us what do you mean by lowercase blacks?
So coming to your store soon, I'll have a whole line based around this. I started using the term uppercase black because I believe that if you don't capitalize that B, I can't trust you. That Blackness is a nationalistic identity, that I can be in Italy and be sitting next to, someone from the continent, and neither of us speak English, but we can tell when somebody's being racist. And then lowercase blacks really just look at, Ice Cube, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent. Those are lowercase blacks. Daniel Cameron, those folks. You know who I'm talking about. Candace Owens.
Yeah.
Where they kind of, I don't like the term coon. I don't like the term Uncle Tom. So I call them lowercase blacks.
I get you, and I totally feel it. So we're gathered here on this amazing Sunday to think about, to talk about, and to also to kind of give some ideas into where we can go as Black women. So why are we here? We're here because the US elections have been projected. There has been a winner projected. That winner is Joe Biden, and his VP running mate, Kamala Harris. So well done for kind of restoring some hope to our lives. We've had 4 years of trauma, 4 years of bashing and unabashed crap from the man in the White House and all his minions. But now we're in a phase where we have to kind of dissect exactly how this win came about. And not only how it came about, who made that happen, who always makes it happen, and how we can harness that power for our own means and our own ends. Because it seems to me that the most underserved community is the one doing most of the work. So over to you guys. I want you guys to tell me how you feel about what's your ideas on who, I mean, we've heard all the pundits, we've seen the figures, but who delivered this win for us? Over to you, Andrea.
So I just want to say thanks, everybody, for taking the time to join, the people on the panel with me and anybody who's listening. And it was just in my heart to talk about this. And so I called Simone and said, we have to make this happen. Somehow, we have to make this happen. And the reason that I did it is because this win would not be possible, not just without the votes, but without the efforts of a Black woman who lost a really crucial state election 2 years ago, Stacey Abrams, and said, I am going to make it my mission to make sure that people are heard, that they are not their votes are not suppressed. And also, even when it looked like maybe she had some kind of national appointment or some national status coming, She once again said, no, I'm not going to do that, or she didn't push for it, or I don't know. But she still stayed her course to try to make sure that who she was trying to serve was served and what she was trying to do was done. And she's one woman that is Black. There are hundreds and thousands across this country that did everything they could to make sure Black people were able to vote, that they went out to vote, that they voted early. But most important, they tried to instill in these communities that you have the power. This is what you can do. Do not let these people make you feel like you're not important, that you don't count, and that, you don't have a leg to stand on or to make change. And I feel like that is one of the things that is so important. And also, I feel like Black women sacrifice so much in this country for hundreds and hundreds, basically from the time they got off of the boats. And even in all of that, we're the ones, although we're the most educated, we're likely to be the least paid, which makes no sense. And so if this is the power that we have. And so now I want us to think about, what do we do? What are we going to take away from this? Because give and take in any scenario in the universe cannot happen if you don't take or you don't receive. And so I need Black women to be thoughtful about now as a time of receptivity of all the efforts that we have put out. And what does that look like? And what does that mean? And what is it across generations? Because that's the other thing. This wasn't just older Black women or middle, Black women of a certain age, kind of between 30 and 50 or 60, or even young. It was all of them. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to even talk about how, when we talk about women in this election, what white women did. Mm-hmm. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're not in the equation anymore.
I think that's a really positive way to actually live your life as a Black woman, to take people out of your equation. No, seriously, because I think when you try and encompass all these people who really are set up for your downfall, they don't even see your humanity, then how can you thrive? You can't save people who are trying to kill you.
Or themselves.
Right. Let's go to part 2 of Whiteness is a Death Cult, most definitely. So here we're moving on. I want to hear from Risi. For you,
oh God,
this election was delivered. How was it delivered? The right way, the wrong way? Was it the right people doing the work? Where are we with this?
I mean, it's a win for a smidge of humanity. I don't have any. So I'm gonna be honest with you, as I definitely felt a collective sigh of relief once the projections confirmed that President-elect Biden is going to take over the reins. But to be honest with you, I won't fully celebrate until January 21st.
Right.
I think that Donald Trump is the epitome of white manhood that will destroy everything around it if it can't get its way. Mm-hmm. That while, I love seeing people dancing in the streets, I was like, I really hope that you enjoy this moment, because what's about to ensue until we get to this moment where we can legally put this dude out of the house is, I think we're in for a bit of a ride. And so I think it was interesting. I don't think I realized how stressed out I was about all of this until I slept last night. Mm-hmm. That was like the first night where I feel like throughout this entire pandemic space, throughout the last 4 years, where I felt like I slept soundly and I didn't need my gravity blanket. Mm-hmm. So I woke up like, oh, damn, this dude has really been stressing everybody out, because I slept well for the first time in several years. And normally, since he's been elected, I've spent a lot of time checking to see what the disasters were. And I didn't feel the need to do that. So I went on a 3-mile walk today. I felt really good. It was good. But I'm really clear that Black women are the reason why this is happening. I'm really clear that Stacey Abrams is like sort of the face, but there are a lot of Black women. And I apologize, I meant to look up all of their names. There are a lot of Black women in Georgia who were on the ground working to make this happen. But Stacey Abrams is an important figure in this, because she would have been well within her rights after that election was stolen from her. Can I cuss?
Can you?
Can I cuss?
Yeah, I mean, her. Yes, life.
She would have been well within her rights to say "fuck you, Georgia" and "fuck everybody else" and like gone and taken some lobbyist position or whatever. She would have been well within her rights to say, you know what, screw it, I'm not messing with y'all, because that election was stolen from her, and it was an obvious theft. It was such a terrible and obvious theft that this white man was like, nope, this is what we're gonna do, and everybody signed off on it. She could have done that, and she decided instead to create a plan for how to flip an entire state. And when I see that, and when I think about the Black women in my life, you all included, we stay taking our pain and turning it into sort of a community revival. Like when we process our pain, and I'm not saying everybody does it this way, but when we process our pain and we're working in our soul contract and alignment with our soul contract, the community benefits. We take all those lessons and we turn it into something. She is responsible. Her and all of those Black women in Georgia are the reason why we were able to call this election yesterday. I don't know what Nevada's doing, to be honest with you. I don't know what Nevada's still doing.
They're taking on a Bright McKnight song, back as one. They
right, well, actually, let me take a step back. I'm sorry. Pennsylvania was the reason why. Pennsylvania. Yeah, so let me stand corrected. Pennsylvania is the reason why we could call it yesterday. But when you look at the numbers of what is happening in Georgia, that is a woman. That is somebody who took her pain and like planted seeds with that shit. She, like, somebody came in and scorched her entire field, and she was like, bet, I'm gonna plant daisies. Yeah. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna plant all these flowers. And that is the way that Black women, it's such an amazing move. I mean, it's honestly, it's the only reason white people survived enslavement, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's the only reason. When you think about the proximity of all of these Black women in these enslaved spaces, if they wanted to, they could have destroyed an entire community with just a little salt shaker, and they didn't. And there is this I'm very much aware, and I'm very impassioned at how Black women have moved in this space, and also very much hopeful, because what happens? We clean up, we save the world, and then you forget about us. Absolutely. And my biggest concern is now, where's the recognition? I don't want to see any white women on nobody's damn TV talk. I don't want to hear no conversations about what went wrong, because I don't give a shit about that. What I would like to see, because the media is complicit in the fact that we ended up with this Bama for 4 years, is now I need to see nothing but Black women on these TV shows talking about what went right. Like, you need to pay these women the proper amounts. You need to have them, there needs to be an acknowledgement that is like across the board acknowledgement. I need that cabinet to be Black as hell and female as hell. Us having a Black female vice president, I'm excited about, but that's not enough for me. Nope. That's not enough for me. So I'm clear, but I'm also cautious.
I love it. You gave us everything, and now we're going to get more of everything from our friend Evelyn. So Evelyn, you have been writing and cajoling us into getting our shit together with you. I've been seeing the tweets, I've been seeing the posts, and I've been liking, and I've been like, yes, give me more. So give me some more. Give me some more, girl. Give me some more on this Sunday morning. How was this election delivered? How did it work? What does it mean to you?
Let me get my notebook ready.
Let's see.
Take notes,
people. Oh boy. Trying not to be the killjoy here.
No, bring it.
We'll start with the positive in that, I am excited about Kamala Harris, soror, and, a little bit about Biden because Q. So I'm like a Q, Syracuse University, AKA. So that's like a big deal in our little circle. Or whatever.
I can't do the sign. I won't before
don't get in trouble.
I know. I'm sorry.
So there's a little bit of that. What gives me a bit of hope, particularly with Kamala Harris, Madam Vice President-elect.
Absolutely.
Is how her policy standpoints have gotten a little bit more progressive over time. I am really hoping that there are actions behind the words.
Mm-hmm.
I am really hoping that there is a growing progressive bent that's happening in the congressional aspect that's going to help to hold people accountable. And what really heartens my cold, sordid heart is the fact that the young electorate has been activated. They're not going back to twiddling their thumbs. These kids will get their ass in the street in the middle of a pandemic.
Absolutely.
And, will cha-cha slide or whatever it is. Yeah. Playing my favorite YG and Nipsey Hussle song. So one of the things that I've been talking about a lot is just the increase of civic responsibility and civic duty, and seeing all these young kids who are like, well, what's happening in Pennsylvania? And, being able to see this process play out and see history play out and see what happens when you don't deal with your shit. You end up with a minus 45 and his whole entire crime family. Mm-hmm. So to that extent, I hope the Democrats, take a couple of laxatives and shit their bullshit out. And really sit and think about how all of this was delivered.
Charcoal, activated charcoal, laxative. They need to clean the whole gut.
Everything you need, they need
the Tudor baby.
You need magnesium calcitrate.
Ooh, not the magnesium calcitrate. That's
go on, clean it out.
That's rough.
Right, because what I look at is the intersections between the spiritual and the material.
Absolutely.
And every energy for me is cyclical. It just bounces back and forth. We don't create it. We don't destroy it. It just moves through these chasms of time. We think it's linear. It's probably all happening at the same time. Probably all high as fuck. Who knows? Yeah. So when you think about like 1877 and the compromise with Rutherford B. Hayes and the ending of Reconstruction, and how that shifted, what Black people were able to do, the gains they were able to make. And when the Republican parties really stopped being for Black people, but the Democrat Party was founded probably by Klan members, if I read my history correctly.
And slave owners.
And slave owners in the South and Louisiana and other places, if I got it right. Yeah. And you see the party now. My thing has always been, Democrats might be the liberals, quote unquote, but they're still establishment. And they still uphold white supremacist ideology. I make very clear distinctions between racism and white supremacist ideology. I don't say white supremacy because that in and of itself is a delusion. That's delusion. But there's an ideology, a conditioning that is pandemic, endemic, and all over what we do. And so when I listen to the speeches and the rhetoric, and when I watch them address the nation, Biden and Harris, and I want things to be radical. Like, we gonna, fuck this shit. We're gonna have a new constitutional convention, and we're gonna just write a new constitution. That's where I'm at. I'm at, all right, I did my part. I did what I needed to do. Encourage, radicalize some white people that I had access to as well, and get on the right side of history. Don't be left behind. And now I'm like, and considering I spent 18 years within this realm doing economic development and being a public servant and all this other stuff, I'm very clear that my energy is best used for being over on the other side of what does a paradigm look like in which we can all be ourselves the way we were designed to be made, and we can sustain peacefully. Right. And it takes more of the collective to get to that point so we can co-create that. I really have no interest in upholding this current paradigm. And people are like, yay, it's a return to normalcy. I'm like, fuck that. We don't need a return to normalcy because y'all motherfuckers were suffering in normalcy. Don't you understand? Normalcy is why Trump was normalcy. So we need that progress. And so when I look at what Abrams was able to do, and I think the woman's name is Latosha Brown, like on my Twitter, I retweeted a bunch of stuff. Yeah. And, when I think about Cori Bush in freaking Missouri, a progressive first congressional person from that district, Black woman who's on stage talking about, I legislate like I love y'all. That's the type of radical stuff we need. And when you think about Missouri and flyover country and all those other parts. And shout out to all the Black and brown and Asian organizers who were working in these rural districts that turned. Because you're talking about functioning in sundown towns. You're talking about functioning in places where people are so entrenched in that white supremacist ideology. And for the shifts to happen the way they happened, that was some real work. And shout out to these young people, because they got the juice. And us older generational people, we just need to clear the debris and get out of the way, because they're the ones who are going to be coming and leading. And how do we support and how do we help them? And how do we get these young Black and brown folk, particularly these young Black women, knowing y'all got the juice, because y'all have the energy, you have the words, you have the power. And how do we help you wield that energy like a sword and like a laser, so that you can get those things done? And I think it's going to be a very interesting tension. I think that people are still going to be disappointed no matter what. I think that if you think that we're going back to normalcy, you're deluding yourself. We cannot, because what we also, people aren't really failing to realize is how bad the plunder was over the last 5 years, not even the 4 years. And the coup, the coup didn't almost happen. The coup happened. It's been happening. They have the judiciary. If Biden and co do not do the work to smoke the rats out, to find out where every single part of the democracy, it's a representative republic, whatever, was destabilized, it doesn't matter what they do, the shit will still come crashing down. And there's still foreign interference. And I know they're saying, well, I am of the belief, because of the criminality of who was in office, but I'm also the belief that all these numbers that they are reporting about, well, there was an increase in votes in this group, an increase in vote in that group, I have to wonder if there was interference. I think some of it was a natural increase, and I think some of it was people are fucking with numbers because they know that they can. So what I want and what I'm looking forward to seeing, particularly with the number of progressive Black women who are running, is people who are going to hold the line, and how we can support them in holding the line and holding these folks accountable. Because the establishment wants to go to the establishment. They want to restore hope. They want to get back to normal. They want to be the president for all people. They want to bridge the divide. They want to talk about love. And I'm like, no, we need truth and reconciliation. And that means we're going to have to throw some bows.
And reveal some shit.
And reveal and tell the truth. These people who are running this government for however, we need drama TV. We need.
You said you wanted scandal, right?
I wanted a scandal
and a car chase.
Because if you do not reveal the rot to the root, America as we know it is already done. That is my belief from energetic perspectives and what we know, and based on the makeup of our country and where the energy is going and what these young people aren't standing for anymore. It's going to be determined like what kind of world we have when we get to the end of this. I don't want to say they're governing the downfall, but if they don't come out of the gate and really take a hard line on, you can't get away with doing this bullshit.
There has to be some punitiveness.
Now, this is the thing that really, this is where, I get a bit torn, because I am all for radical is about gripping things from the root. That's actually the definition of what being radical is. People have their little pop culture notions of it, which means that you go around causing anarchy. That's not that. Radical is gripping things from the root. And the root of these systems are rotten. And so, in my mind, Biden and Harris are not equipped to deal with the rotten roots. They can maybe put some plasters on things, but things are so critical now in a country that doesn't have free healthcare, does not have any social security blanket, really doesn't, and that thinks that work and subsidizing businesses is the only way to survive, and not diversifying how people can thrive and giving people opportunities to be different than just a workhorse for working for under $15. You know, a lot of that was voted through. Oh, now we've got $15 minimum wage. Now you've got $15 minimum wage.
And what does that mean?
The landlord.
And what does that mean? Because $15 in a city like New York doesn't do anything for you.
You're gonna be in your cardboard box. That's what you're gonna be doing.
But that is how the white supremacist ideology and the capital. This is the hierarchy, right? I forget the woman's name who came up with this idea of all the oppressions under one umbrella, and that you can only benefit if someone else is oppressing. This is the hierarchy. I think I'm saying that word right. Yeah. And the reality, like, again, they are equipped to lead the government as it is, right? And they are equipped to maybe respond to some of the more progressive asks, right? But if you're talking about being radical and getting to the root, one of the ways you do it is through a new constitution. Mm-hmm. That you literally have to sit down and shred it out. I don't know. But what does it mean? What does our democracy mean? Because when you read the current constitution and all the amendments, you get rid of you and a lot of these things like Roe versus Wade and Brown versus
Board of Education.
They're not written into the Constitution. They're interpreted in the amendments.
The problems.
Which is why the new Supreme Court justice is so freaking dangerous. Right. Because that broad actually is an originalist who actually believes that the way is interpreting things at a time where women couldn't vote, where Black people were 3/5 of a person, and some more stuff. The danger of what is already like Trump knew he was going to lose. And I agree with everything everyone has said. There is an understanding that in order for us to get at the root, we're going to have to hack at that thing with a very sharp hoe. Like we're going to have to literally dig little by little. And to me,
my choice is machete, but let's use the hoe.
Yeah, I think you need the hoe because you need to get in there. You need to get in there and you dig deep.
You've got to do something.
And I think that
No, for real.
No, seriously, because the thing is, the roots have spread.
Yeah,
it's like we're gonna have to dig deep.
Oh, let's talk about how it spread. Whew.
It shows up in the darndest places. So even places where you think you're safe, somebody want to oppress somebody. This is the problem. It's the conditioning that we believe that success can only happen if there's a top-down hierarchy.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about the ways that the oppressed can oppress each other and themselves?
Oh, of course.
Right. I mean, but this is honestly, in my opinion, why the next move. Like, I was concerned about the presidential election in the sense of Donald Trump he needs to go. He's dangerous. Like the existential crisis that people were having because this man was basically alienating us was real. So he needed to go. But I could give a damn. I'm really more concerned about what the local politics look like. Because it is very clear to me that it is going to take a building, like the foundation has to be built in your county, in your region, like
in your city.
You get enough, right? And it has to be locally done. And what I'm hoping that doesn't get lost in all of this celebratory, wahala and all of these things about Biden is that, the presidential election has a whole bunch of local shit on it. When those ballots come through, there's a whole bunch of local stuff on it. And so if you don't activate people to understand that you need to vote all the damn time and everything, then this is a loss. Then this is cute, but it doesn't really change anything. Like we need to get people in a space, Black people especially, need to become more civic minded because we have the psychology around, white supremacy has conditioned us to believe that our votes don't matter.
Right.
That's part of the conditioning.
Of course.
So that even when we give you the right to vote, you won't vote because we've conditioned you to believe that your vote doesn't matter. So we spend all the time with idiots like Ice Cube talking about a platinum plan as if the only thing on the ballot is the damn presidential election. Meanwhile, you're telling people not to show up and there's a whole bunch of local shit that needs to be decided on. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say not to mention it's just the whole Willie Lynch approach. If you, or even what Carter G. Woodson said, if you control a person's thinking, you don't have to worry about their actions. Which is exactly what you said, psychology.
We're going to tell people, we're going to convince people, don't vote, it don't matter, da-da-da. Do you know how much stuff you're not voting for when you don't get involved, like when you don't vote? Like there's a lot of stuff Ferguson just got his first black mayor. Yep. Mike Brown would be alive today if there had been more civic engagement. 98% of the police force in Ferguson was white and did not live in that part of town. That should never be allowed to happen. And we need to start talking about
these are the policies and the laws we need to put into place.
We need to be talking about these things around voting in such a way that, because it doesn't make sense if when the midterm elections come, because you're mad that in 2 years they haven't been able to clean up this dumpster fire, that you don't put the people in that can make, like, you got to understand how our government works.
Right.
You don't understand how our government works. These idiots telling people not to vote or not to be engaged, that's part of the damn problem. And this is why I'm really only messing with black women right now. I'm not even going to lie to you. That's who I'm looking at. Because that sense of community, when that sister, the Corey sister, was like, I love you. And because I love you, I want you to have clean water. And I want you to have health care. Like, that love is what's going to set everybody free. Mm-hmm. And the only people that I see doing it in a way that actually makes things make sense right now is mostly black women. Yeah. And so we have to make sure that when that runoff happens in Georgia, that we're helping to make sure the right people are being part. Like, this should be like, okay, we did this big thing. Now there's all this other small stuff we need to handle, because that's part of the problem.
Which for me is why I wanted to talk about this, because we need to think strategy. And we need to think long game. We do not need to get caught up in the trappings of what's going on right now and celebratory and all that. That stuff is great, but this is about our lives. This is about how we live. This is about our children's lives. And this is about what's coming next. And if people don't wake the hell up and realize, yeah, not only is it black women, but even if it's not a black woman, whoever it is, that person is accountable to you. We all pay fucking taxes, and those taxes, because for me, what I'm the most mad about is that for the last 4 years, not the most, but one of the things is all the money this man has used. I'm like, we knew you. Obviously, you had no money, because everything you're doing is just trying to spend it down for unnecessary things. And it's exactly what you were saying, Rissy. If people don't understand what civic engagement is in this country and what it means and how it personally impacts you, then you almost have no leg to stand on.
Right.
And I'm 100% behind you. It is about supporting black women. It is about supporting black women as leaders, not somebody who's helping, not somebody who's funding,
volunteering,
not somebody who's volunteering, but a black woman or a woman who looks like me, who is actually making the decisions.
And let's be clear, a black woman who has done their decolonizing liberation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I spent
absolutely.
I was coming to
I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, no.
The bullshit that I dealt with by folks who look like me, but were caught up in the paradigm, in the matrix.
Yeah.
So when you see a Cori Bush or an Abrams or a Brown or a Major or a Carter or all these folks, and they're speaking that radical, liberal, not even liberal, that progressive, like, are the kids full? Yeah. You know, do we have water? That shit, you know, the black woman that you need to support won't always come in the most palatable package.
And can we speak?
Yes. Ooh. And let's be clear, black people have as much fucking elitism and classism within our communities as anybody else does.
Colorism, can we not miss that out? Because this is why I want to talk about, if we're not decolonizing, if we're not centering ourselves in our own systems, our ancestral systems, all the lessons and the technologies that they've given and laid for us, then we can't see black women's leadership in any other package except for the Kamalas and all the rest of it. What happened to Shirley Chisholm? You know, yesterday I took a moment and she was in my heart because she did everything. She's the reason.
Well, and let me be clear. She's not the first.
Before her,
first was.
She's not the first, but she's not the first. Definitely
she's not the first. She was. I think it's Carlotta Bass.
In like 60 something, right?
And in California of all places, in the 60s, she ran on a Progressive Party as vice president candidate.
Right. And so those black women, as I said, they were radical because they were gripping things from the root. But who gripped them? Who supported them?
Yeah.
And where was that support? And that is what the work we have to do. we have to create the support networks, the support technologies, the support mindset that allow all different, exactly, all of
resources
that allow all types of Black women, all types, not just the mule archetype.
Absolutely.
I know what that looks like.
Absolutely.
Not just the what? Say that again because you glitched. Not just the what?
The mule. MULE. Okay. Sorry, my accent might be a bit. I don't know how y'all say it. Mule.
No, you glitched. No, that's why. Yeah.
Did you say how do y'all say it? None of the three of us have that kind of accent, Simone. I have no idea where you got
here, right? This is the things that they fed to us about America. You say y'all, or you have that Sweet Valley High girl accent from California. This is all we know.
Okay. That's real.
But I want our support to look as radical as what we're asking from Black women. I want our support to be so anchored within self and ancestral traditions that it cannot be shaken, that it doesn't actually matter who the fuck is in that White House. We will always be good because we are so protected, because we have the foresight and we lean on our ancestral traditions and our ancestral armies. But also because we have decolonized this shit out of us, that we're not just doing everything the white man's done, but with Black female leaders or Black.
Well, you said something that struck me that I have to comment on, is that part of what we also, because in decolonizing the way that we think about ourselves, we then lose the bullshit around aesthetics. Because let's be honest, some of the reason why y'all don't fuck with Black women is because you don't like the way we look.
Hello.
And so because you don't like, especially those of us that are gonna, twist out our hair, and we might want to wear a little head covering, or we might be a little thicker and some more stuff. You don't like that because you don't want that aesthetic.
To be reminded.
Right. And the reality is that I've never seen a queen mother that was less than 200 pounds that wasn't dark skinned. So I don't understand what the problem is, but we are going to have to let go of these aesthetic limitations that I also think play a part in how we decide who we support in all of this, that, and the third. Because that is a conversation that's not happening enough. Absolutely. And, it does affect how we, what we're thinking about doing. And I'm going to be honest with you, the only reason I was on board with Obama was because I saw Michelle. Once
Absolutely.
I saw Michelle, I was like, all right.
Black women were.
I'm into it.
And that's why I think what Stacey Abrams is physically and who she is and what she looks like is actually very important.
It's so important.
Right. It is because we need to see, because one of the things that I appreciated so much after they called it was so many people across the country on the whole internets were putting up various pictures of her. And it's very clear she's Black. It's very clear she's full figured. She has natural hair. She has a gap in her teeth. All the things that is a part of who we are, even though we're a lot more than that. And she hasn't changed what she looked like to be more palatable. And
let me tell you something. You drop her anywhere in West Africa, she gonna have like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people trying to get at her. So part of the other thing is that I'm very much aware that living in America, the way that we have treated particularly dark-skinned, larger sized women is anathema to what happens in other parts of the world. And so we have to really push that aesthetic, because there are plenty of Black girls that look like Stacey Abrams.
Absolutely.
And so we need to make sure.
Would we even say that there's more Black girls that look like Stacey Abrams than they do like Beyonce?
Oh, okay. Wait. Simone. Can we not even bring her into this conversation?
No. It's about aesthetic. It's not about her.
Aesthetic.
It's about aesthetic. It's not about her. It's about that. If we look at our media, and even Black-owned and Black-led media as well, where Black.
Oh yeah.
If we're thinking about representation, we would think that is all that we look like, and that's all we can be. We should aspire to be, and it's not the case. And because no one or is afraid to interrogate that, right, it spills into all these other places of what Black women can be. So there is an aesthetic like Stacey Abrams that says, "Oh, this is a worker mule. She'll take care of us, and she don't need that much respect, and she don't need that much support. And we just need to check on her maybe if we can be bothered. And when she saves us, we'll put a picture up for a day. But for 364 days, we're gonna fucking forget about her."
Yes, well, I understand, and I know exactly which media outlet you're talking about.
That is why I will bring that up, because people are reluctant to interrogate how we feed ourselves and how we allow people to feed us too, even people who look like us,
So that's the hierarchy, and that's the ideology, and that's the conditioning, and that is the everything that doesn't make sense, but that's the paradigm we're living in. And I do have to have a little hope in my heart that there is the awakening that's happening, because even when we talk about like the sacrificial mother archetype, right? What the aesthetic plays a part into that. Who is expected to sacrifice?
To sacrifice. Exactly.
How are they expected?
Always an expectation, right. I believe, on darker women, fuller figured women, that you're not desirable. You're here to work. You're here to support.
And I'm a root cause person. So when let's get to the root of that. And I think intuitively we know. And just like anything that makes us uncomfortable or brings up these emotions that we don't always have the words or the grace to put into them, it's easier for us to turn away, look away, not deal with it, than to get to the white meat of truth. And so from an energetic perspective, the reckoning that is happening and has to happen, it's not just a systemic one or a societal one or a civic one, it's also an internal one.
It's
2020 personal. Was one of those shifting trajectories, bending the arc of history and bending the arc of how we show up, and taking the mirror and showing us all the things that we don't like and what we need to see. And as much as we're calling for accountability from those who we say govern us, right, there's also that internal accountability. And to the extent that, we can't create better systems without better human beings. And that's the bottom line. And if we're not looking at all of the things that have separated us from who our creator made us to be, this hierarchy, these overt systems of oppression, the stratification, the classifications, and it all comes down to the separation. And whether you want to call it the complexion of your skin, the size of your body, the texture of your hair, how much money you have, this, that, and the third, right? It all comes down to separating people from their fucking humanity, and more so their divinity. So to the extent that you can come home to yourself, as Rissy said, I think you said earlier, if we deal with that shit, all this other stuff, we're not going to have to pound a hammer on chewing up these conversations about the colorism and the sizism and the texturism and the thisism and the thatism, because when you're standing in your motherfucking power and you are allowed to be who you are called to be, right? Because, I was in the coaching world, and there's this whole big thing about we coach people to be their whole selves. And then I always push back. And I was affiliated with a corporation right now, and there was a whole conversation happening, and they're training a whole bunch of coaches, and majority of them are white, a couple of them are black and brown. And what I said was, you're talking about being your whole self, but you have created an environment where some people aren't allowed to be their whole selves.
Right.
So even the language and how we talk about how we move forward, how do we shift that and change that so we're holding our power and standing in our power? Because if we're using the language of the bullshit that keeps stabbing us and causing the pain, when do we ever stop being in pain? Right? And that doesn't mean you don't acknowledge, you don't reconcile. Call a thing a thing. Call a thing a thing. And what does it look like for you to be in your humanity? And what does it look like for me to be in my humanity? And why does what me being in my humanity impact your humanity? And that's also the white people that need to sit with that question of, what is it about people who ain't white being in their humanity that scares the shit out of y'all? Go sit down somewhere and be in a corner with that. Think about that. Chew on that.
They are literally existing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
literally breathing.
Yeah.
But I think so. This is why I love Evelyn Bandoh, because she just doing it. And so part of what it is, and I've said this on panels, and I say this to people that I counsel in the whole nine. Anti-Blackness is something you have to fight every day. Every day. Every day. You got to flex that muscle every day. And part of that understanding is questioning why you are doing this or that. Like, what does that actually mean? How much of that is, I just like the way this looks, and how much of that is that internal trigger that says it's not finished until I lay down my edges. So we have to be really, really clear about how anti-Blackness works within us, because it is something that we have to fight every day. Every day I have to wake up in the morning, look at my whole body and say, girl, I love you just as you are, because this world will convince me that something is wrong with me. Yeah. And if we aren't teaching people to do that, the only way someone, and I'm gonna go back to punk ass Ice Cube, the only way someone like an Ice Cube can justify his behavior is that you have really bought into the nonsense. Like you a lot of these people, Daniel Cameron, I'm so mad at him. Like if I am so incredibly mad at this man.
I'm gonna box him.
Yeah,
I'm so incredibly like. What makes you hate yourself so much that a woman in her bed, sleeping, minding her own business,
have to create all of this,
is dead because people don't, because they just assume she's disposable, and you don't even have the wherewithal to bring the proper charges. That's anti-Blackness. That is you saying that we're disposable.
Sit the fuck down and not be part of the whole shit.
Right.
But you want to be front and center of making sure
that these people get away with murder. That is anti-Blackness. And the thing is that we don't talk enough about, we spend a whole bunch of time talking about white people. Fuck white people. I am really concerned about how Black people don't love themselves, because that is the reason we are seeing some of the stuff that we're seeing. I don't need you to love me. I don't need you to see me as your auntie or as your daughter, as your sister. If you don't even love yourself, I'm not going to win with you. Because if you love yourself, you are not going to put me in harm. You're not going to put me in danger. You're not going to question my intention because I don't have straight hair and because I don't have a weird ass body shape. You're going to be like, this person, you're going to listen to what I'm saying, and you're going to say, yo, this serves the entire community. Let's move with this. So there's a lot of ways that at this point, I don't even give a shit about what's happening with white folks. I'm like, if we're going to really get free, everybody has to be practicing anti-Blackness on a regular, every day, every minute. Every day, when you are judging somebody, when you are looking at somebody, when you that's anti-Blackness. The reason why SARS is an issue, why Nigeria is blowing up now, is because those folks hate Black people.
Exactly.
Basically.
In Africa.
All day long.
In Africa.
And we have to own that. We have to be willing. We have to be willing to fight that with our children, with the way we use our language, with the things that we show up and say are hot versus not hot. Like we have to fight that every day, because that conditioning is real. And that conditioning is ancestral. It is in our DNA. It comes in each generation, and we have to fight it. And if we're not willing to do that, all of this is cute, but it means not shit when it comes down to like what our lives are going to look like.
And that's the real battle. You know, when we talk about Black people and oppression and the external oppression, I'm like, you know, we giving these white folk way too much credit.
Absolutely.
And if you're giving them the credit for the oppression, you're giving them the credit to save you. And what motivation do they have to save you? None. If you actually, as Black people, stand in your fucked upness and your humanity and all the ways we fuck up as humans, you actually stand in your full power. Yeah. You stand in your full power, because what that means is that you're not giving responsibility for someone who can't see you or chooses not to see you to fix you and make your shit better.
I had a professor when I was at school, and one of the things he was telling us, because we were talking about how it was a language issues class, and he was talking about how, you know, how we around the world as Black people had, you know, are speaking the different languages, but a lot of us speak English. And he said, let me be very clear with you. It is a historical accident that these things have happened this way. Do not give these people the power that they had all of this foresight. There are a series of things, guns, germs, and steel being three of the most important as to why the world looks like it looks. And he said, do not ever give them all of that power. And I was like maybe 18 or 19, and it hit me at the time, and I thought, he's right. But now I understand it is exactly what you two have been saying. It's not about them. It's about us. And it's always been about us. And what we need to do is acknowledge that, acknowledge the ancestral and the historical things, acknowledge the mistakes that we've made, you know, acknowledge the nonsense that we keep going even within our own communities, whether it's colorism or classism or sexism and misogyny and all of that stuff. Yeah. Because we're not immune to that.
No.
And the reason we know we're not immune to that is look at our communities. In 1910, I want to say, or something like that, the rate of literacy in Black communities was so high because it was post Reconstruction, and everybody was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I got this. And it didn't matter that there was Ku Klux Klan. It didn't matter that Black people maybe couldn't vote. It was because they were empowered. Yeah. And the most difficult thing is to control somebody's thinking. Because when you control their, once you have that, then all the other stuff doesn't matter. That's so you will have people like Kanye putting himself on the ballot. What the fuck was that?
He maybe needed a hug or something.
That was some deep Gemini shit.
So one of the things that I wanted to make sure I said before we stop is this book right here, and Rissy knows because I talk about this book all the time.
We're going over an hour ago. I'm sorry.
Okay. So Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. You need to read this. It is written by a Black woman in 1861 after she had a amazing, unbelievable way to freedom. And she went and she told her story. And I read this book at least once a year, once every other year, because the shit that she said is basically a blueprint. And what she showed us through her life and through what she was able to do is that you got to love yourself and want to be free. Because if you don't, nobody else will. You have to be willing to go to whatever lengths that is possible so that you not only are free, but that you stay free, which is what we're talking about. It's a daily thing. And the other thing is there are people and mechanisms in the world that would be happy if your ass wasn't here. So if you want to be here, it has to be something that you decide. You decide it every day. You decide it with everything that you do. You spread it to people. You check yourself. When you see it happening, you make sure that you address it right there, which is why exactly what you all are saying makes so much sense. This is not about this election. It is, but it's about us.
Mm-hmm. So,
it's about us.
And that's the thing that I think is fascinating. I watch the world from the perspective of lifetimes because I'm so tired of coming back to this bitch and y'all ain't gotten this right. I'm so tired.
I'm not coming back.
I know, and Evelyn's back because I made her come with me this time. But the thing of it is, we figured it out. I was like, come on, it'll be fun. And she was like, no. I'm like, come on, this will be fun. But the thing of it is that when I look particularly at Black women, I believe, and anyone who knows me knows that I believe in all my heart that Black women are the divine blueprint. I just believe that. I think the magic that we possess, the inherent divineness that we walk with is there, and you can see how Black women influence everything. Well, no white women thinking about bustles till they saw Black women's behinds. So let's keep it real. And so when you think about the ways in which there have been these systematic global attempts to reduce Black women's power, it is just a sign to me that the greatest fear these powers have is that we step into our full power.
Absolutely.
Because Black women at their full height are casting shadows left, right, and center. And the problem is that we have been conditioned. Like I'm coming out of something where the book was called Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl.
It's by Harriet Jacobs, but she's writing as Linda Brent.
And Linda Brent, yeah. So she
had to write in a pseudonym.
Okay, it's an amazing book. It's devastating because what she has to do to get free is like mind blowing.
I threw the book across the floor.
Yeah.
Because I was so choked up and I was just reading it by myself. I didn't read it in a class. I just picked it up and read it on my own. So it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, but it's a necessary one. It's
worth reading because one of the things that you find is that part of her story is how she has to push back against the conditioning around Christianity, around being an enslaved woman, around being a Black woman. And every time she tries to figure out a way to go left, it's something with her own people that are trying to tell her that, no, you can't get free this way. And so even all of these ways, the boxes that are in place that are trying to contain this black source, like we're not meant to be contained. That's why if you just leave us to our own being, where you find us in multitude, singles, whatever, we're out here flourishing. If you leave us alone, you keep disturbing our peace.
Yes.
We keep getting interrupted, in the words of Hippolyta. And that's the problem. What I'm hoping this time is that enough people realize that if you leave Black women uninterrupted to do their thing, I swear to God, we can fix this whole thing. Exactly. But what I will not allow is for us to fix this shit and you're not paying us, you're not worshiping us, you're not giving us our flowers. I'm not going to work for free. I'm not going to say.
Can I put another bow in there? And you're not loving us, because I do think this is important, that you're not loving and partnering with us. That you see us so much as an island that you keep us there. This is a whole conversation. I want to add to the list because we never do. And to function as humans, we need touch, connection, and people and relationships and sex.
Absolutely.
We need that. And good sex, by the way.
We literally have to recharge ourselves. Right. We literally have to recharge ourselves every time we go out. And you're right. And you're touching chords right now, so I'm gonna try not to get all prickly.
Because we always speak over it, because it's true. That's expected of Black women to kind of put a secondary. No, I want good sex, and I want it consistently with a clean person that's not going to give me diseases. That's not too much to ask.
No, it's true.
Okay,
no, you're right.
Hello.
You're right. 100%. You're right.
Because like real talk,
skipping over our sex, and I'm not having that.
No.
Sex. There you go.
But it's right. True. And I think part of that is because part of the conditioning, and this is a point that I was trying to make earlier, but I got caught up. Part of the conditioning as a Black woman is that suffering is part of our understanding. And we have been conditioned to believe that if we don't suffer, that we're not somehow living this full womanhood life. And that is part of the damn problem. I don't want to
life in these streets.
We were not made to be martyrs. We were not made to be martyrs.
I'm not interested in being a martyr.
That is
We're not made to be martyrs.
Mother archetype. That is it. And so if your Black women are talking about your healing and your liberation and just that journey, the first thing really is to inquire within yourself, where am I upholding this sacrificial mother archetype where I take care of everyone and I don't take care of myself? I only speak what I know and what I've been through and what I've had to heal. And being a first-gen African with a nut-ass, traditional African-ass father, and probably can hear me at this point. And everything that comes with your condition.
Sorry, Evelyn, go back.
Rewind.
Say slowly and clearly for the people in the cheap seats. How am I upholding
the sacrificial mother archetype within my existence?
Yes.
That's one. The second inquiry
I just
you
want
can
to know, guys, this is like a cleansing herb for your timelines right now. All of this.
Even with all of us talking at the same time.
I know, it doesn't matter. People
it makes sense. The second inquiry to make of yourself, and this is going to get prickly, and a lot of people, particularly when we're in the traditional I'm struggling because I'm oppressed and da-da-da-da-da framework, when you come out of that paradigm, even for a minute, if you inquire of yourself, where did your original soul betrayal occur, in which something outside of yourself separate you from your divinity and your humanity? Okay,
on a Sunday,
and this is a question that people of African descent as a whole need to ask.
Okay, can we go back? Evelyn, stop this. You keep doing these things and just leaving us on the floor. Repeat it.
We're not prepared now. We're not prepared.
You said, tell me what you said. Repeat it.
Oh, now I gotta see.
You said where did you?
Where did the betrayal?
Yeah. Where did your original soul betrayal occur? Oof. In which something outside of yourself was able to separate yourself from your humanity, from your divinity, from the way that your God made you. Right? There is no judgment. There is no this, that, or the third. But this is that divine human. I don't like the notion of a sovereign being. We're not 100% sovereign. We are all very intertwined, right? Yeah. But your sovereign energy, right? Understanding where you end and other people begin and vice versa. Yeah. And for people of African descent, this question is very ancestral and it's very like original womb type question. Yeah. That question is actually what starts this book I'm working on, right? Amazing. Because when we think about the trade, the transatlantic slave trade, and prior to that, what was the soul betrayal that allowed someone to sell out one of their own? And how has this soul betrayal played out?
Consistently, continually.
No matter where we are geographically in the generations.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I want to say, particularly for Black women, and as someone who was in the healing community and all that other type of stuff, if you are looking to the mainstream new age, very white supremacist, ideologicalized driven healing community to teach you about your ancestors,
you're giving it the finger,
to teach you about coming home to yourself, when these motherfuckers talk to everybody but their own people.
Absolutely.
You may
see Paula White. I hope you saw that.
You may want to reconsider that, because there is so much misinformation. These agents of chaos had some of y'all new age leaning Black women believing that you didn't need to vote, that you didn't need to make sure that the world in which you inhabit was important. Because here's the thing, none of us are able to be spiritual and manifest the life of our dreams if the world is falling apart around you. Okay? Because part of the contract when you come to this earth is to be a better fucking human being and to make the land and the things you inhabit around you better. You are not 100% sovereign. You are not separate and distinct from the water you drink, the land you sit on, and your shit goes back to the earth, for crying out loud.
It's cyclical.
Okay? It is cyclical.
You put in.
So if you're buying into all these new agey systems that have no real true indigenous roots and don't have wisdom from the ages embedded in them, you are separating yourself further from your divinity than you realize.
Can we just say the fact that this shit is even called New Age just fucking makes me laugh. I know what sage is, not because of some damn book or some podcast. My great grandmother, who was from Georgia and born in 1896, used to tell us, when somebody has left your house and it was some bad shit, you boil some sage to get that shit out of it. I didn't have to read that in a book. But again, this goes back to what Rissy was saying. When you allow people to control what you think so much, and you become so separated from that, then you believe this. I remember I went to one of these things because I knew someone who wanted to go, and so I went with her, and I just sat in the audience like, this is some dumb shit. Or don't even get me started on The Secret. Y'all know what I thought about that damn.
We'll tell you how the law of attraction is a damn lie, but we don't have time.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Do you know how I argue with one friend of mine about that stuff? Like, we will go hammer and tongs because I'm like, I did not attract white supremacy. I did not attract sexual violence. That shit is not about me.
Yeah. But it might be about your ancestors. And that's the thing that we have to consider. Because here's the thing. If you haven't watched it yet, Making of an African Colony is on Netflix.
Oh,
it's a docuseries looking at the formation of Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And the thing that is very disturbing to me is white people, if you pay attention to them, they only do what you show them. If they see you calling a black woman a bitch, if they see you enslaving people that look like you, they'll assume that this is okay. People were sold for umbrellas and fucking tin cans of like meat or whatever. Like that is some craziness to me. And when you look at the feudal states, the way Lagos becomes Lagos is because a nephew and an uncle were beefing. And, one didn't want to lose. So they used these imperial powers to come in and help them. Like, there was no sense of you are my people. Like, we're like, what kind of argument are you and I having, Simone, as not even blood sisters, but as sisters? And I got to bring in some white people to come help us figure out an argument. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So while I understand what you're saying, yeah, you didn't attract it, but I do believe in DNA memory. And I do believe that, shit follows us. This is why the ancestral space is important. And the conditioning that takes us to a white Jesus and away from our ancestors is a big reason why I think things are messed up. Because we're using these religions that don't even see you in them. And you are literally giving up the ghost. Like you are praying to somebody else's ancestor when you got your own that are being
them.
Huh? Say again?
It empowers them.
Oh,
In
of
the
course.
spiritual realm,
Of course.
when you're praying to, celebrating, you're speaking their name, it gives power to. And
meanwhile,
then
your ancestors are here suffering with no food, no water, nothing. You remember them.
No money, no nothing. You haven't even spoken their name, and that's your DNA. But you can speak another person's DNA.
Like you are speaking, you're learning a whole nother language.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing. So when I say that, I'm saying, yeah, it's not necessarily you. But let me be really clear. White supremacy can't exist without the help of some folk.
Oh, of course. Oh, I know that. But that's because white supremacy is the idea. It's not about a group of people. Anyone can be attached and practice white supremacy. And this is why when people say, well, Black people do this, yes. What's your point? It's an ideology which people feed into. And all our systems are created to feed into it. So, of course, there's going to be people of many different colors and backgrounds doing that. That's just how this is. But I hear what you're saying about the ancestral implications of what our ancestors have done and how we're living. But it's a very dangerous concept to push onto people that, you know, if you have a positive outset, then you're just going to get positivity.
No, I agree with you.
Well, that's distortion, right?
Yes.
So what happens with mainstream, what I call a mainstream healing or the mainstream spiritual healing industrial complex. This is what I'm calling it, right? Because the minute you layer capitalism over something, and the minute you layer the ability to make money off of healing, this is my biggest issue with this modern day healing community, in which why I'm no longer a part of it and I don't even do the work anymore, is because when you layer in your survival on people needing to come back to you for their sustenance, you're no better than a church. Prosperity gospel and abundance gospel are
prosperity Instagram, rise and shine,
are of the same coin. It's this new age spirituality is nothing but white supremacist ideology with a caftan.
Exactly.
People have just figured out how to make money off of it by taking bits and pieces of the good parts of people's belief systems and putting it together to say you can have anything that you want. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. You cannot have anything that you want. You can have what's in your destiny.
Yes.
And you probably want what's in your destiny. Yeah. Why would you want anything that you want? If your mind is fucked up,
you might want some dumb shit. Chicken. You want some dumb shit.
You need some goddamn lettuce.
Can I follow up on what you said about you can have what's in your destiny? So let's bring it back to the conversation about Black women and our destiny.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And the fact that what I want from a conversation like this and the work that I've done with I'm Possible and the work that I've done all my life with trying to champion Black women, right, wherever I am, is that I want them to understand that their destiny can be whatever they choose, in the sense that it's everything outside what the system has been telling you that you can be. And so in this moment where we've seen that Black women have literally underpinned our safety and our well-being for the next 4 years, right? I want Black women to also understand that this Captain Save-A-Ho, just let me use that term, this Captain Save-A-Ho energy that we have, and it's a mighty energy which can move countries. How are we going to transmute that into confirming, affirming, and permanently placing us in a place of safety and prosperity? Because we're not even on a knife edge. We're under the frigging knife. If you look at Black women's indices of life expectancy, when we go medical racism,
you have to
how are we going to use our Captain Save-A-Ho fucking rhetoric and ideology to confirm our existence on this earth, threat-free, terror-free, misogyny-free? Because that is what we have to do. No one's going to do that for us. And that's a question to you guys. This destiny, because it's scary to me that we keep saving shit and we're not asking for enough.
And for me, the dangerous part is that from a spiritual perspective, everything is give and take. And if we're giving, and we're not receiving back, what kind of fucking balance are we setting for ourselves or not setting for ourselves?
That's the sacrificial mother archetype. And that is why we have to start being more visionary and thinking about what does the universe gave us, they didn't, like, even when people talking about, oh, you can manifest money. Well, no, money has no energy. I don't personally believe money has energy. I believe we can call in opportunities for exchange because what the universe gave us is exchange.
Yeah.
We made cash money to
we
make money, to make exchange and energy tangible. So to the extent that we start thinking radically about what does it look like to cultivate systems that aren't necessary capitalism, because we can say, oh, capitalism is bad, but then what's the alternative? What does that look like? When do we start becoming our vision keepers, right? And even on the thing of destiny, I think one of the reasons that Stacey Abrams was so successful in what she was able to do and galvanize is because she was walking in her destiny, her blueprint, right? I think when it comes to choice, there's the choice to be in alignment and a choice to be in I don't know if disalignment is a word, right? I do feel that there are certain things our specific DNA is encoded for. And that's why we feel aligned and fulfilled and good when we're in our lane or in our bag or doing certain thing, right? And why we feel squirrely when we're not. And when you think about the notion of separation, when you are so filled with other people's conditioning and words and things that you can't feel what feels good for you, the coming home to self, knowing what your heart is saying, what you feel, what is yours, and what belongs to the world, I think is a great start. And who's the sister? Sonia Renee Taylor wrote a book called The Body is Not an Apology. That should be critical reading for every Black woman, everybody really, but every Black woman.
Yeah.
Because she really speaks on some things. And we have to have enough of us coming home to ourselves and being clear about who the creator of your understanding, who did they design you to be? And when you're operating in the space of who you were designed to be, it becomes easier to create a world in which we can thrive. And so you have to do the tangential stuff. You have to do the material plane of support the people who are going to create a world in which we operate where we're not going to have bombs flying over our heads and police shooting and doing all this other type of stuff. So you have to get more progressive on this side. And then there's the inner work of how do I put down this sacrificial mother archetype bullshit where I feel like I have to save everyone in order to be loved. And how do I carry and stand in my energy to demand better and to demand that people rise to the occasion of how I want to be loved.
Can I just say, just to add there, maybe that's the only way that they can ever feel love, because society does not ever have a path for their love to be about desirability and just themselves. It's always about what they can give.
Right. But society will never do it for us.
No.
And so what I'm saying is that you get to a point at some point, if you truly believe in a creator and a higher power and that you are divine. Right? That you are a divine entity, then your walk is you and your creator. And society at some point will have to fall in line. The shift is inner before it's external.
The other thing is contracts can be amended.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So whatever you've always said that, and
yeah, I believe in soul contracts, and so for me, soul contracts are very much connected to your destiny. I feel like you come back and you say, this is what I'm going to do this time. And then you get down here and it's like, oh, this shit is not what I expected. I do believe that you can amend your contracts. I think part of what I want for Black women is to understand their magic and their energy and their divineness. Because if Stacey Abrams and all these other Black women are able to can physically shift an entire state from one sort of thinking to another, she had
Georgia.
Like she took a Confederate ass state and was like, we're gonna turn this thing. If they can do that, imagine what you could do with just a little bit of time on the self, right? And the thing is, this conversation is so important because I think, we all know each other personally. We all have, love for each other. And so, we all know a little bit about our personal lives. Who is in your village? Because sometimes you have to see it in order for it to manifest inside of you. So if your village is raggedy, if you're the only motherfucker in your village that cares, you need a new village.
What's that saying? If you're the smartest person of all your friends and you need new friends,
you need new friends. And so part of it is like, what is your village doing? Like, if your village isn't asking you, did you drink water today? Did you talk to your ancestors today? Did you, do you need me to drop some herbs off? Like, if your village isn't confirming your divinity, then you need a new village. Because at this point, this for me is so important. Like, I don't need new friends. So if my village, if in my village I can't get what I need, I worship the sisters that are in my village and they worship me. Like, worship is something that we all need to get real comfortable with. I get it all the time in a lot of different ways. And we need to understand that worship is part of what happens when you honor your divinity. People will look at you and be like, here's some money, or here's some vegetables, or can I give you a massage, or hey, whatever that looks like to you. But if your village is not confirming your divinity, for me, I've had to change out a couple of things because I was like, yeah, I can't be in this space. One of the things I cannot do is argue about who I am to you. I'm not going to defend who I am. And I'm certainly not, putting in applications. Yeah. So if you can't understand, if you can't accept, and if my conditioning is preventing me from standing at my full height, then I need to ask myself what the hell is going on. So my thing is, are you standing at your full height? Because a lot of y'all are on 6 when you should be on 12. And you got to ask yourself, why are you operating at a 6? Like, what is it about us that like, oh, you feel bad because you can do all of these things. So you're going to be quiet and you're not going to tell people that you know things. You're going to want to be humble and all that bullshit. We don't have time for that anymore. I need all the Black women standing at their full height. We need to cast the shadow and we need to be treated. We need to be treated for who we are. And that's in all aspects. And, if that means that the love doesn't come from a brother, unfortunately, get it where you can. Because I do believe that Black women, part of why are, to speak to your point, Simone, we're, in the way that we operate, we're also loyal to a fault.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's the second one.
From what I'm seeing, it is a fault because it's not reciprocal. We're not getting what we need back from it. So it's now become a fault.
Right. And we're playing. We need we need this exchange. And so I can't be, shining my sun on all of you people and no one is shining sun on me. I need to be warm too. So there has to be photosynthesis. Right. We need that exchange.
We need it.
Anything wrong with saying this is what I need. And I'm learning this now. Like, I have to step into that space of, instead of just walking away because it's like, you're not part of my village, me telling you, here are your bags. This is why you're no longer welcome in my village. Yeah. Have a nice life. So even just letting you know why I can't mess with you now is becoming a big part of how I roll, because it's just part of it is that some people need to be taught. Yeah. And I'm realizing that I have expectations of people around me. Like, if you see all of this amazing, you need to respond accordingly. And people aren't responding accordingly because they've been conditioned to believe that my amazing is too much.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I really want for Black women is for Black women to understand we are this powerful. Yeah. Do not doubt it. And we, not just me, not just Stacey Abrams, not just the 4 of us on this call, we, ancestrally, this is who we are. And we need to see that. We need to recognize it and we need to act accordingly. And if we are not acting accordingly, take the time to be reflective, to do all the things that we're talking about. Give yourself the time and the space that you have given to everyone else in your life. This is not,
That's
this, this is a marathon, babe. And so you could sprint all you want, but you got to go the distance. And if things are not as they should be, no matter how much you're saying the right things, you look the right way, people think of you in a certain way, if inside you are not the person you are supposed to be and you're not this divine Black woman, that shit is going to seep out in all kinds of ways. It is going to be your health. It is going to be your relationships. Shit, it could be your dreams. So we can't run from our greatness.
And now we're built to last. We'll be here for a while, so I don't want to be old and dry. So if I'm gonna I need to be juiced.
You know what? We're good. what we are good at is we're good at putting up blockages for ourselves. We're good at denying ourselves the time that we need. But this is who we are. Stacey Abrams is who she is because that is who Black women are. That is who we always have been. We just haven't known that. And it's exactly what, Evelyn was saying. She was who she was supposed to be.
Yeah. And congratulations to her on having that, because of having that faith. It takes a lot of courage.
Yes, it does.
To walk that path. And I don't think that people realize that soul contract is real. And when you step on that path and you are walking that path, it's a lonely ass path.
It is loneliness, because I actually want us to move into how can we kind of not cure, but how can we manage the loneliness of being leaders?
I think part of what you have to do, and I've had to learn to do this, is there is a certain way that I like to live. I don't like to be boxed in, and so that's a big part of what how I like to move. So the pandemic has really affected me. But I also think we have to, the conditioning that says that love has to look this way, that family has to look this way, that success has to look this way. We have to be willing to release that. And that has been a very hard road for me. It's a very hard road, but we all have love in our life. It may not show up in the form of, 6'5" melanated abs and some other stuff, but we have love. We have love. And so part of it is sometimes you just have to just be okay with what you have. And it's a hard thing, because what I want is a back rub and somebody can cook and pay the bills so I can go out here and do whatever. I would absolutely love that. Keep me. But the reality is that that's not where it is. But I have amazing men in my life who call me to tell me that they love me. They check on me. They stop by. They fix shit. So I think it's like you have to. The conditioning is real, and so even in our most divine space, like I have in this last week, I have realized that as elevated as I think I am, I got my ass handed to me because I realized that I was still conditioned to believe certain things about how I show up as a woman, and it's really hurting my feelings. And so part of the lesson is, how do I? It's an ongoing thing. So part of it is the loneliness is absolutely real. Yeah, it is absolutely real. But I think that this is what massages are for, so you get that touch. And this is where if I could run a male brothel, I swear to God I would. I think that at some point, if you could just pay for the cuddle and just get what you need, I would be so down for that. Anybody who wants to participate in this experiment, let me know. Because I do think that they're part of what we have to be comfortable claiming what we need. And sometimes you just need what you need, and you need it to go away when you're done, And so part of that is we have to let go of this idea that you have to be married, then you have a baby, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, we have to let go of all of that conditioning, because we are too big to be contained in any of these small ideas around what relationships and people should look like. Like, that's the other step. Because sometimes you be on the path and you be burning your sage and talking to your crystals and feeding your ancestors and doing all this stuff, and then you wake up one day in tears because you're like, I just want somebody to hold me. And convince yourself that that's not part of it, that you're supposed to give that up.
But it's real. It's real. It's really real. And speaking on this is a very vulnerable side of me that I've never really spoken about publicly. My friends will probably know and stuff like that. But this road of leadership, this road of being a path breaker is fucking lonely. And you can be as strong as you want. Yeah. But you're still having a human experience. Mm-hmm. You are still in a place where you can doubt yourself. Mm-hmm. Where knocks can really send you under sometimes. Yeah. And you can also be an amazing person who can mask all this shit and make it look so fucking easy when you are dying or dead inside. And
that is also a gift of Black women.
Shout out to my fearless journey.
That is a gift. That is a gift that Black women have. Two things I wanted to say to answer your question. The number one is I wholeheartedly agree with Kat that we do have to give up this very this very patriarchal idea of what love looks like in our lives, because even that's a mechanism to control us.
Yeah,
you have all these people out here in these fucking marriages with kids and all this nonsense, and they're miserable. And they are single, and they're miserable.
Secondary market myself.
I didn't catch all of that.
I am waiting for the pandemic secondary market.
All the people
who divorce who realize they want with the right person.
Oh,
they're being open to some things. You already
You think probably
I know from a person who has a friend,
and you already got your kids.
Already 2 or 3 people that I know through someone else they're already starting divorce proceedings, because you've been in the house with these people for all these months, and you realize, oh well, shit, I don't like him, or oh, she get on my nerves, or what the hell is this? That was going to be the first thing. The second thing is, because I was born here, I really think a lot about what family life was like for Black people when we were enslaved, and that shit was. It was traumatic. It was dramatic. It was all of these things. But even still, all of that, we prioritized in our lives that family was important, that community is important. And so one of the ways I think, that we can build is to build our communities, like person by person, groups of people by groups of people, and realize that, it's not going to be perfect all the time, and shit's going to be fucked up. But if we deconstruct this nonsense about what they tell us family is, fuck that shit. Mm-hmm. That is not
the top down is really messing with.
Fuck that shit. Like it's not helpful. It doesn't support us. It doesn't even encourage us. It just sucks the life out of you.
And it makes everybody lazy, because if you pay attention to who is most loyal to these structures, it's usually Black women who are deferring to these raggedy ass elders and deferring to these mamas who are mad and some more shit. And the reality is that if you construct your village in a way that makes sense for who you are, like everybody who knows me knows that the way that my father and our relationship is amazing now. But I had to really make it clear, like, Pops, you're going to be in my village. This is what I'm going to need from you. And I didn't have to beat him about the head. I just had to show up in a way that was like, you can't come in the village until certain things are done. Yeah. And we have an amazing relationship, but that was because he had to let go of the cultural aspect of, I'm a Nigerian father, I'm the elder, so what I say goes. And I had to let go of the idea that because he's my father, I can't tell him he's messing up. And so I do think culture and tradition has played a really terrible game on Black women, because we have been brought up to believe that we have to adhere to these rules. So even as we evolve, that conditioning is still there. And so every day we have to fight that shit, and that it's work. It's exhausting. But I do think that I'm just thankful for my girls. I'm thankful for my village. I really am, because the way that I have cultivated the people that are in my life, like a friend of mine talked me off the tree the other day because I was in a terrible state. And he was like, all right, let's talk through it. He was like, well, this ain't the problem, and this ain't the problem. This is what the problem. I mean, he totally gave me like this perspective, and he didn't have to. Yeah. But he did. And he did it in a way that was mindful that I was in a very vulnerable space. He did it in a way that was acknowledging of the way that I think and the way that I operate. And it was exactly what I needed, And so I think we have to build our villages in a way that support us.
And the people around us have to be a reflection of who we are at this time. Yeah. And a reminder of who we aspire to be. Yeah, and who we can be.
Yeah. Because Andrea, I will say this on record. Andrea will be like, remember when you said you want to do this? Why haven't you done it? Be like, well, God damn it. All right, fine. You're right. So I do think there have to be people in your life that know who you are, like who your full potential is all about, and encourage you, like, you should take that chance. You should totally do that, joint. Because that's how we grow. I don't think I think what you said, Evelyn, about we aren't sovereign. We aren't. No. And I think that Black women have been convinced that they have to do everything themselves because that's part of the conditioning.
And also because we've not held people to account for doing stuff for us.
Yeah.
In
Go ahead, sweetie.
Well, one thing that I struggle with is asking for things when I need it. Because
really, Simone?
Really, that's something you might not know about me. People on here who know me, but I have a hard time asking for what I need. Because,
I mean, I literally have heard you say, but I don't want to have to ask for help.
because I've been let down so consistently, and because that will trigger abandonment, feelings of abandonment, right? And so that's where the self-sufficiency comes into it. So I remember having a conversation with a guy, and he was saying, Black women, they're so strong. And I said, that is a symptom of some people just generally not doing shit for them.
Yeah.
When you see strong people, they are holding themselves together the best way they know how. And it's usually come from childhood.
Well, but it's also a very slippery slope because it is a cycle too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it is, and you're right. It's very, very it's very dangerous.
Whoever Melanize it is,
Melanie,
she's my girl. And
I love it.
So just to can I just say, I appreciate the tech and the communication execution for this live. So many lives are not this together. That would have been excellent again. Melanie, I love you, girl. And trust me, I don't feel that much together. I honestly, I needed this. So
yeah, I just really think that we are so great, and that's why what I'm going to start using as my hashtag is Black Women for Black Women. Along with Simone, I'm Black mixed with Black.
And that comes from a little quip I made of her 3C hair, where I was like, oh, you got some 3C girls up in there. She was just like, I'm Black mixed with Black, okay?
Because everybody always talks about, what they are, and so I'm Black and Black.
Yeah. Aren't we all? And that's the only way it can be. So to wrap up, because I love you guys, but I'm just thinking 2 hours on the internet of our mouths might be a little bit too much with some people, and we should spare them a bit because we got our shit all together. Remember that. So I want to wrap up, and I want to ask each of you, what's the move, guys? What's the move? And the reason why I'm asking this is because we've done a great thing, and yes, people should be happy and they should be dancing in the streets. I'll give you that luck tomorrow night, but today that's not what we're doing. Today we need to have more than a strategy.
Yes,
because
we need a plan.
It's a plan, and we need a demonstrable output.
Yes,
supported with money, politics, and people, and love.
Yes,
and love. So we can shift this thing so we don't die when we give childbirth in a hospital.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so all of those things. So tell me what
I'm going to try to be brief, but these are the three things I think. We need intergenerationality because we need young women, we need women our age, and we need our elders.
Yeah.
We need to mobilize and organize in pods, throughout the country and where we're interconnected, however we're able to do that with money attached to it, because these things need to be funded. And then from an internal space, because Evelyn is always insisting on the internal, and she was 100% right. Yeah. We need to make sure that we are open to receive the good things that the universe has for us.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna drop the mic. That's it. I'm not gonna be long-winded.
I love it. It's everything. Evelyn, over to you. What are your things? What do we got to do right now? And I know you're going to drop some gems. So when you do, can you repeat them, please? Because I don't have time to stop you and go back. So repeat it. Just repeat it from the beginning. Your order. Go on.
Well, I'd say one of the first things is to drink water and maybe get a physical and see where your body's at.
Yeah.
See where your energy
Can we
is
please
at.
Go and get some mammograms as well, peeps?
Yeah, I got to schedule that.
Yeah.
See how your body's holding your energy. Because a big part of the bigness of Black women, I think a lot of times where we have our health challenges is there's an imbalance of how we're holding our energy and how we're able to express our energy. And one of the favorite energies that fucks us up in the midsection is our suppressed rage.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have my moments of it. Yeah. And really getting into our bodies. So I think people call this somatic work or, embodiment. really getting into our bodies. And for some of us, it may be challenging, or there may be things attached to that. But that definitely is a key. So the book I'll recommend reading again is The Body Is Not an Apology. And I want to say the sister's name is Sonia Renee Taylor.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
The second thing is making a commitment to a practice of asking ourselves the right questions and the honest questions and the truthful questions. So taking stock of our lives and being clear about what's working, what's not working, and what needs to go. And letting go of the people, the places, and the things and the ideas that don't serve us, or at least being willing to. Being willing to change. The other thing is, how do I say this?
Just say it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Believing that you can demand people to step up, and being okay with the fact that you may not be palatable, you may be called problematic for speaking your truth, but speaking that truth anyway. And really, you know, that the civic engagement aspect works, and not thinking that any of this shit is separate, not thinking that you're so spiritual that you don't need to pay attention to what's going on Earth, and not being so tied to the earth plane that you're not caring for your spirit. And really, you know, at the end of the day, do the work to come home to yourself. That's the best way I can say it. If you can do the continual work of coming home to yourself and being in lock key with your destiny, however you want to call it, your divine assignment, all the other things, they do start to fall into better place. And you don't necessarily end up having to force so much. And stop contouring your nose. And I guess, but I'm being really serious about that.
I know.
Yeah, no, we know. You're right.
I'm
you're
being
right.
serious about
You're right,
that.
because that's the tip.
Artist,
yeah.
And the whole point of contouring was to create a Europeanized face. And when a lot of our influencers look like chocolate dipped white women, that also sends a specific message.
Are we also talking about edges, laid edges?
Yeah.
You know?
They also look like drag queens.
Well, and that was where a lot of the makeup, the contour,
it's all drag queens.
That, right?
It's like what's that movie? Damn it.
You know, and there's not anything. What I'm saying, there's not anything necessarily wrong with that, right? But when it becomes your default, right? Can you look at yourself? Can you go out with your own face? And that is a very deep and serious question. I say it in jest because I put a little comedy on when I'm talking about serious things, because we, you know, need to laugh at ourselves. But yeah, appreciate your Africanness.
Ciao.
Here we go. Ciao. Ooh, all these words. Risi.
Okay, well, let me
How are we doing this? Okay,
so of course everything my sisters have just said. Right now for me, assess your village. Who's in your village? Do, you know, assess and see like who needs to stay, who needs to go. And it doesn't have to be forceful, but it does have to happen. I think there's also something to be said for being as much as you can be, like getting comfortable with standing at your full height and whatever that looks like. Because I think that we have like terrible posture right now because we've been literally pretending to be humble and shit just to make everybody feel good. And I think there are places where you can mute your energy to give space for other sisters to shine. I think that there's a place for that. But what I realize is that I can still be my full 12-foot height self and mute my energy at the same time. Like I don't have to, one doesn't have to happen over the other. Get more massages. I think that, so I believe that self-preservation, I don't believe in self-care, I believe in self-preservation. And that preservation piece is really important to me. Find a favorite herb, commune with that herb, drink that herb as much as you can. Lemon balm is one of my favorites. Holy basil, you got that belly because you got stress, drink holy basil. Understand that massages and touch are something that are really important. Even if you have a partner, you might need to just outsource that piece so that there is someone whose job it is. I look at massage work as worship of the body. And I think that it's a helpful way to kind of step into that space of being worshiped. I also think it's important to check in with the body. Like I know I don't do it enough. I did get a mammogram for the first time and I'm all clear.
And why did you get it?
I got it because what's the sister's name that used to be on MTV that has stage 3 cancer?
Ananda.
Yeah, Ananda Lewis. I saw a video and I have been avoiding the whole thing because I was like, this is a torture device designed to just make women uncomfortable. I'm not doing it. And so instead of going to the regular radiology, I went to a Black woman run breast care center. It was nothing but Black women, and a Black woman basically Black mamaed me onto the machine. She's like, just give in to me, baby. I'm gonna take care of you. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had in my life. And I was like, this is crazy. But she Black mamaed me through the whole thing. She's like, give me 5 minutes and you have to see me until next year. And I was really thankful for that. So part of that, my practice has been support Black women, invest in Black women. Anything that I do from a production standpoint, Black women are the people I call first. There are ways for you to show up in other people's villages where you can be of service and where that can happen there. It should. And I believe in exchange. I don't do anything for free. I just don't. If you need something from me, I don't care if you give me flowers or a vegetable. We need to get used to exchanging, because receiving is something that it's a muscle. If you don't use it, you miss out on a lot of things. And so I believe that we should embrace worship. I think Black women should embrace being worshiped, because in a lot of ways we just don't know it. When people are copying our style and mimicking our looks and all of this, that, and the third. So embrace that by treating yourself in that way. The massages, the nice, the great $15 honeys. Buy yourself some $15 honey. Spend a little bit more money on that dinner for yourself, but treat yourself in this way that says, I see you, I love you. Because I think when I think about love, that's the first person that I start with, myself. So if I'm feeling unloved, then I have to be like, well, did you not tell yourself you loved yourself today? So get on it. So I think doing it for yourself kind of pushes that energy out. Like people always like, girl, who's taking care of you? I'm like, me. You look good. You in love? Yeah, with myself. Because, but so I think that, I believe that we should stay juicy for as long as possible. And for me, juicy means that you are glowing from the inside, because you've done the things you need to do. And things are not always going to be perfect, but there's no reason to be dry.
No, there really isn't.
There's no reason to be dry.
There isn't. I've loved every single thing you guys have said. I think what it really is centering on is us, on doing the internal work and doing work that centers us. And making sure that whatever we're doing, even if we're saving this American project, that we're centered in the saving of that the benefits of that is going to come to us. We're not going to be the last on the list, and we're not going to be the ones doing the hardest work. We're actually going to get more into directing role, the leadership role, the puppet puller role, right? The puppet pulling the puppet strings, not all this hard graft.
Stay juicy.
Right, it's staying juicy. And it's like, there are many things, that I take from my personal life and my personal journey as to what, Black women need to do and all the rest of it. But, very much, it just quickly off the top of my head now, is certainly therapy. Please, can we enter it with gusto right now, and commit to it? And when it's thorny and it's uncomfortable, stick to it even more. And really excavate those wounds. I'm talking about really dig out all the crap and start filling it with the goodness, because we deserve that. We can't be on this plane and just purely watch each other and watch ourselves suffer. That's ridiculous. And it's not what your ancestors asked for you. That is not what it is. The second thing I definitely want Black women to do is to get into more ancestral centered worship and communication and spiritual works, and to start conjuring like they've never conjured before, and conjure because of the power of their self, and conjure for themselves. I will call this being selfish because Black women don't really understand that it's self-care, but we'll use the word selfish because it's going to be entirely about them when they do this conjure work. And then lastly, enjoy your fucking self. Enjoy it. You know, even these hard, thorny parts, the joy will come at some point, but just enjoy what you have, because too much of our lives and Black women's lives is about work, odious shit. All the stuff that people don't want to touch. We go in there often without PPE, and we go in there and we do it. And we come back with all these bloody symptoms and issues because we didn't protect ourselves enough. I don't want the next generation of Black women to be on those streets screaming until their voices are raw and then come home broken without anyone there to take care of them. No, it's enough. Yeah. We have to embed protection, safety, and joy into our everyday. So, with all those amazing words and these amazing women, that is drawing a close to Ancestrally Speaking today. We are having a new president, Joe Biden. We're having a new vice president, Kamala Harris, who is a Black woman, as she self-identifies, who's also of African and South Asian descent. That is making people feel a little bit weird, but people like that exist, so get over it.
Can I say that her daddy has a very Ghanaian head, so I think I'm claiming that for her.
Well, I think most Jamaicans are a clown, but they don't want to speak about that. But, you know, I'm sure that, you know, we got cousins deep in the game right there, so, you know. But, yeah, I mean, we can claim. It's okay.
Kamala is a cousin.
Okay. We can. But, well, I mean, yeah, go ahead. What you
I was just going to say, I can claim because we went to the same school. Just like she can claim.
Oh, my God. And this is something I've been seeing, that everyone that went to Howard is not going to let us live. And everyone who's, oh, she's an AKA. Everyone's an AKA will never let us live.
It's over.
And, you know,
it's over.
These are two of the, I mean, AKA started at Howard. So they're two of the worst Black people there are. When it comes to claiming some shit.
I love it. I honestly love it. And honestly, in my head, I feel like I'm Howard alum. I always wanted to go, seriously, in my head and my heart, because I have so many around me and I just think they're wonderful people. And that's no dig to everyone else, because I have quite a few Hampton people around me as well, but I really do love my Howard people. But
they're unforgettable. I'll say that.
Really, very truthfully.
Sometimes not in a good way.
Oh, I think, you know, to close, Black women change the world. Black women make the world. We're the blueprint. And I want a better blueprint. I want a blueprint that's more about us being thriving instead of us just surviving. Actually, so thank you to everybody.
You know, whoever that is.
You know.
This thing is never going to end.
And so you speak without these Howard people just giving us Howards. My goodness. But as I said, I am of Howard alum somehow. I didn't go there, but I am. So that's what it is. But thank you, Risikat Okedeyi, Evelyn, Bandoh, Andrea Thompson. My goodness, give a round of applause here.
Shout out to Simone Bresi-Ando.
Simone!
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And it's been so good. I really needed this. I needed the connection. I was feeling very disconnected, and I needed it. And thank you to everyone who's commented and watched. It's been a bumper viewer audience. Okay, I can't speak, but it's been bumper in the numbers of viewers, just like the Black women that voted.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say this, because Spirit told me to tell you that you realize that this foursome is a series, so you need to figure out how you.
No, I know. I already.
Okay.
Don't worry.
We just need to figure out topics.
So I'll share it with you all. This will be a monthly thing. It's going to be called Ancestrally Speaking, the check-in, and we are going to do it every month, and we're going to check in on all the things that matter to us, and of course from the ancestral point of view of the world. So yes, guys, I've now committed myself to another thing I don't really have time for, but it's okay, because that's what women like me do.
And neither do the three of us.
Exactly, none of us do. Trust me.
We'll figure it out. And there'll be tea next time. I'm sending out tea blends next
my
time.
belly is rumbling and I really need to eat. So, you know, I'm about to chew my own laptop. I love you all. Thank you so much. Everybody who has watched, thank you for giving us this energy. You really did energize me. Please be careful, because, you know, I need people to be more vigilant than ever. And that's not to say that there's no joy, but you just be vigilant and understand who's at work and how you can work with that and always come on top.
And stay juicy. No dry.
We are warriors.
Always. And we moisturize warriors. Our battles.
Yeah,
Your
uppercase black
lose your battle.
Yes, we are uppercase. We are uppercase black warriors who stay juicy.
Who stay moisturized and juicy. All of that.
I love it. I love you all. I love you. Take care, okay? Bye.